Gretel's beautiful singing and what she said about violence. This extract is from a book called Cookie by Jaqueline Wilson, and it highlights that violence comes in all sorts of ways, and in very manipulative ways as well, often. We always knew if Dad was going to be in a good mood because we'd hear him whistling as he parked the car in the drive and walked to the front door. He was whistling now, his Happy Home song. Mum breathed out slowly and smiled at me. I smiled back, licking my lips to make sure I hadn't left the tiniest trace of jam. Hello, 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 my two best girls, Dad called, opening the front door. Hello, Jerry, Mum called quickly. Hello, Dad, I echoed. We heard Dad taking his shoes off and putting them in the special rack by the doorstep. It was one of his many rules. All outdoor shoes must be left at the front door because we mustn't risk scratching the polished parquet floor. Then he cleared his throat and started singing as he slid up the hall in his socks. Happy homes, where everyone smiles and nobody moans. He skidded into the living room, grinning at us, his arms outstretched. There's a mummy, pointing at Mum, and a daddy, pointing at himself, and a gorgeous little girl, pointing at me. So if we're happy in our home, then give us a twirl. He twirled around foolishly, his toe pivoting on the thick pile of the living room carpet. He paused. Give us a twirl, he shouted, wafting his hands in the air. Mum and I stood up immediately. Even if Dad was in a very good mood like today, the slightest thing could still upset him and make him turn. Mum twirled around, holding up her skirt prettily, pointing her toes. I twirled too. I whizzed round too fast, as I was in such a hurry to get it over. I managed to trip over my own slippered feet and nearly fell headlong. Whoopsie, said Dad, catching me. Dear goodness, Beauty, you're so clumsy. I think we'd better send you back to those dancing lessons. My iced bun turned a somersault inside my tummy. Dad had sent me to ballet lessons when I was 6. I was the oldest in the baby class. There were some tiny girls who were only 3 or 4. They were all much better at dancing than I was. I couldn't do bunny hops. I simply landed with a bump on my bottom. I couldn't skip. My arms and legs went all wonky. I couldn't point my toes properly. They wanted to point in, not out. And I couldn't twirl gracefully to save my life. I stuck it out for a year until Miss June, the dancing teacher, tactfully told Mum that I didn't seem to be enjoying my dance classes, so perhaps it might be better if I tried another hobby. Please don't make me do ballet again, Dad, I said. Don't you want to learn to dance like a little fairy? Said Dad. Fairy elephant, more like, I said. Dad chuckled and ruffled my hair. He sat down in his big leather armchair and then pulled me onto his knee. He pulled Mum onto his other knee, as if we were both his little girls. Hey, Jerry darling, did you get the planning permission for the Water Meadows project? Mum asked. I'm still working on it, but it looks very likely, said Dad. That's what we need. 200 spanking new, top-of-the-range happy homes with river views. They'll make our fortune, Dilly. You wait and see. You've already made our fortune, said Mum. I've worked hard for my girls, my wife, my daughter. Dad paused. And my ex-wives, and my layabout sons. Mum gave me a little frown. That meant, don't say a word. What does my best girl want for her birthday present, eh? Said Dad. I don't know, I said. Well, think, said Dad. He tapped my forehead. What's going on inside that little noddle of yours, eh? I bet you've got some idea of what you'd really, really like for a present. Well, I thought so, said Dad. Come on, what is it? Mum leaned forward, looking tense. Dad shifted his knee, tipping her off his lap. You go make a start on tea, Dilly. I'm starving. Whack a steak under the grill. Even you can manage that. I tried to get up too, but Dad hung on to me. No, you stay and keep your old dad company, little beauty. I want to get to the bottom of your birthday wishes. What are you pondering? I can tell you've set your heart on something. I wriggled, wondering whether I dared ask. Come on, sweetie. No need to be shy of your old dad. What is it, eh? Have you got your eye on some outrageously expensive outfit? It's okay, baby. I'm used to your mum. I'll happily fork out for the junior designer doodahs of your choice, with a slinky little handbag, and maybe your first pair of shoes with tiny little heels, eh? Well, actually, Dad, I wasn't really thinking about clothes. Aye, something more expensive, eh? It's okay, darling, the business is doing well. You heard me tell your mum I'm on the brink of the biggest deal yet. Do you fancy your own little laptop? Or a personal flat-screen telly for your bedroom? No, Dad. It's very kind of you, but I truly don't want anything like that. Well then, what is it? Come on, spit it out. I'll get you anything you like, my lovely. Then, please, could I have a rabbit? I whispered. What? Dad cupped his ear. A rabbit, I repeated. I'd really like a white one with loppy ears, but really, any kind of rabbit would be. My voice tailed away when I saw the expression on Dad's face. Are you thick, beauty? He said. I don't know, Dad, I said, not sure whether he wanted me to say yes or not. It didn't look as if I could win whatever I said. You come on like Miss Smarty Pants, but I say, you're thick, said Dad, jabbing me in the back at every word. The last jab shoved me right off his lap onto the carpet. I tried to scuttle out of Dad's way, but he caught hold of me by the wrist. Don't, Jerry, Mum said, darting back into the room. I'm not hurting her, said Dad. He deliberately loosened his fingers so that they were just like a fleshy pink bangle on my arm. Am I hurting you, beauty? No, Dad, I said. And are you thick? He said. Yes, Dad, I said. Yes, Dad. Certainly, Dad. As thick as 3 short planks, Dad, said Dad in a horrible, high, squeaky imitation of my voice. Please let her go, Jerry, said Mum. What has she done to upset you? She's only gone and ignored one of my very basic rules of this household. This particularly luxurious house, custom made by my own best craftsman for our benefit. I don't think it's asking much to want us to take care of this lovely home. I'm not what anyone would call a finicky man, am I? Mum and I didn't dare contradict him. I just like my house to be well looked after. No scratches on the parquet, no chips on the plaster, no dirty hairs or stains on the carpet. What causes scratches and chips and hairs and stains, beauty? Do you really not know the answer? Pets, Dad, I whispered. Yes, full marks. And what has my view on pets always been? I know I can't have a dog or a cat, but I did think a rabbit might just be okay because it wouldn't be in the house. It would live in a little hutch outside. In a little hutch? Where, precisely? In the middle of my lawn? The rose beds? The patio? No, just by a wall somewhere. Yes, that would really add to the classy atmosphere. Rabbits in smelly hutches. What else would you like? Pigeons in cages? Ferrets scrabbling in a run? Not ferrets, Cherry. They'd eat the rabbits, said Mum, trying to turn it into a joke. You shut your face, Dilly, said Dad. No one's asking you. Don't talk to me like that, Jerry. Please, said Mum. She tried to say it firmly, but I could see she was trembling. I'll talk how I please in my own house, said Dad. Now listen to me, Beauty. I don't mind animals on a farm or in a field. I can get very fond of a winning Gigi at a racetrack. I just won't have animals in the house or surroundings, okay? When we were peasants in mud huts back in the bad old days, folks shared their houses with a cow and a goat and a guard dog. But we're not peasants now, and this isn't a mud hut. This is a luxury home. Get that? Dad stuck his face right up close to me so that his head seemed horribly big. I could see the vein throbbing in his forehead, the blood vessels in his eyes, the hairs up his nostrils, the flecks of spit on his lips. He looked like a storybook ogre about to eat me up. I felt tears pricking my eyes. I knew I mustn't cry in front of him. I always looked so ugly when I cried. My eyes screwed up, my nose ran and my mouth went square. It always made Dad madder than ever. I mustn't cry, I mustn't cry, I mustn't cry, I said inside my head. But the tears were already spurting down my cheeks. Go to your room right this minute, Beauty, said Mum. It's naughty of you to nag at your dad for a pet. You know the rules. I knew Mum wasn't cross with me too. She was just trying to save me. Yes! Get upstairs now! Dad thundered. I was off like a shot. I was in such a hurry I tripped on the stairs and scraped my shins, making me cry harder. I flopped onto my rose silk bed and hugged my old ragdoll PJ. I had a shelf of big fancy china dolls in Victorian costume. They had ringlets and bonnets and parasols and long flounced dresses and tiny heeled boots. They were all collector's dolls and very beautiful, but I couldn't play with them properly. They just stood on their shelves and stared straight through me with their spooky glass eyes. I'd had PJ ever since I was a baby in a cot. Mum made it for me. Her eyes were crossed and her mouth was wonky and her arms and legs were uneven. I'd given her a drastic haircut when I was little, which didn't help her appearance. PJ stood for Plain Jane, but I didn't mind a bit that she wasn't very pretty. Her mouth still smiled and she felt soft, and she had her own special sweet smell. When I was little, I liked to suck my thumb and nuzzle my nose against her cloth cheek. It made me feel safe. I tried sucking my thumb now, holding PJ close. I could hear Dad shouting downstairs. Poor Mum, she was getting the worst of it now. I wanted to run downstairs, turning rapidly into Super Beauty, my arms pumping, legs bounding a mile a minute. I'd floor Dad, seize Mum in my arms, and with one mighty bound, we'd soar through the open window, up, 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 away from our happy